I'm going to tell you a story that, honestly, I still don't know how to talk about without my voice shaking a little, not because it broke me, but because it rewrote me. And before we go any further, you should know this. Sometimes the people we love, the people we think we understand down to the last detail, are fighting battles so deep, so dark, they'd rather destroy themselves than let us carry even a piece of it. This story is about the moment I learned that truth, and the moment I almost lost everything because I believed the worst before I even looked for the truth. So let's start here, on a cold Thursday morning at exactly 5:47 a.m., the moment my world quietly started to crack. The lie that shouldn't have been a lie. Mark came down the staircase slowly, a little too slowly, with his suitcase rolling behind him. He tried to hide it, but I noticed the way he gripped the banister, as if pulling his body forward took effort. His eyes looked tired, not late night at work tired, but hollow tired, deep tired, the kind of tired that comes from the inside. He gave me a smile, a small one, the kind you paint on your face when you don't want anyone to look deeper. It's just a quick business trip, he said, adjusting a tie that didn't need adjusting. Chicago. 2 days, back by Saturday morning, but something was off. His voice had a soft shake, barely noticeable, but real. And then, his hug. Mark was never a stiff hugger. He hugged like a man who loved with his whole chest. But that morning, his arms were gentle in the wrong way, soft, careful, light, like he was afraid he might hurt himself if he held me too tightly. I pulled back slightly, just to search his face. You okay? I asked. He nodded too fast. Double quotes. Yeah, just tired. Don't worry. But I did. Something inside me, something instinctive, felt like it lifted its head, like a warning. But I forced a smile, kissed him goodbye, watched him walk out into the gray-blue morning light, and the second the door closed, the air shifted. You know when a house suddenly feels too quiet, too still, like it's holding its breath. That was the moment everything started to feel wrong. But before I take you to what happened next, hi there, and welcome to my channel, Grandma Stories at Grandma Megan. Tell me, which country are you watching from tonight? Because trust me, this is one of those stories that makes you question everything you think you know about trust, loyalty, and love. 22 minutes after Mark left, I found it, his laptop bag. Under the dining table, the one thing he needed for literally every business meeting. He never, ever forgot his laptop. Not once in 17 years. A cold pinch ran across my chest, like the air inside me collapsed. Why would he leave without it? And then an uglier thought crept in, no matter how hard I tried to push it away. Was he even going to Chicago? I grabbed the bag, slipped on a jacket, didn't even lock the door properly. Just left. I drove to the airport so fast I barely remember the roads. My brain kept looping. He never forgets his laptop. He never rushes. He never leaves like this. What is happening? What is he hiding? The airport was buzzing, crowded, echoing, chaotic, and I felt like I was moving through fog. I checked the departure board. Chicago Gate 22, boarding soon. My stomach tightened. If he was lying, I would find him. And if he wasn't, I would apologize. Either way, I needed to know. I rushed through security, heart pounding so loudly I could hear it in my ears. And then, I saw him. Mark, standing near the big windows overlooking the runway. But he wasn't alone. There was a woman next to him, wearing a beige jacket and medical scrubs beneath it. Her hand was on his arm, gentle, familiar, comforting. A jolt of heat shot up my chest, a mix of fear and rage. And then, a little girl appeared beside them, maybe 6 or 7 years old, small backpack, round cheeks, eyes too sad for her age. She reached for Mark's hand like she'd done it 1,000 times, and then she said, "Daddy, are we going soon?" Everything inside me froze. Daddy, my husband, the man I'd loved for almost 2 decades, standing in an airport with another woman and a little girl who called him Daddy. My throat closed, my legs trembled, the world tilted sideways. Cheating, a second family, a secret child, a double life. The thoughts crashed into me like waves one after another, too fast, too violent. I stepped behind a pillar, shaking, hands numb, heart pounding like it was trying to escape my body. I pulled out my phone with trembling fingers and hit record. I needed proof. I needed something because my mind could not process what my eyes were seeing. The woman adjusted Mark's coat collar. He winced, a tiny flinch, like even that hurt. My eyebrows pulled together. Why did that hurt him? But I brushed it off. I was too angry, too shocked, too hurt. The woman hugged him. Long, slow, intimate. The little girl wrapped her arms around his waist. My chest cracked open. Something deep inside me shattered. They walked toward the gate as boarding started. I followed at a distance like a ghost. The gate agents scanned their passes. The little girl looked up at Mark and whispered, "It's okay. You can be brave. I'm brave too." And before I could even breathe, the gate door closed behind them. They were gone, and I was alone, standing in the middle of the airport, holding my husband's laptop and the pieces of my breaking heart. Asterisk. The gate door shut behind them with a hollow click. A sound so small, but it felt like it echoed all the way through my bones. I stood there frozen, his laptop bag hanging from my fingers, my mind trying to decide if I should scream, cry, or just fall apart right there on the airport floor. But instead, I walked, fast, cold, focused, I marched straight to the ticket counter. Chicago flight, gate 22. Did a man named Mark Collins check in? My voice came out tight, controlled. The agent typed, nodded, double quotes, "Yes ma'am, he checked in earlier with who?" I snapped. She blinked, confused. "With 2 medical companions." Medical. My stomach flipped, but anger slapped over it so fast I barely felt it. "Can I board? Is there a seat?" "I'm sorry mom, flight is full." Of course it was. Of course the universe wouldn't let this be easy. I walked away, gripping the handle of his laptop bag so hard my knuckles whitened. I didn't cry, not yet. Crying felt too fragile. I felt something else, a sharper emotion, determination. If he thought he could lie to me, if he thought he could hide a second family, if he thought I wouldn't find out he didn't know me at all. Asterisk. I got home, dropped the laptop bag onto the couch, and opened it. Inside was his laptop, his charger, and a thick, sealed envelope. My name wasn't on it. His wasn't either. It simply said, "If found, deliver to Dr. Ryan, Chicago Medical Center, Oncology Wing." My heart stopped. Oncology. That one word cut through my anger like a blade through paper. My hands shook as I ripped it open. Inside, medical reports, blood results, treatment schedules, a note written in Mark's handwriting. My vision blurred as I read, "Please prepare room 214 for emergency admission on Thursday. Patient experiencing increased pain, flare. Avoid alarming family until diagnosis is confirmed." Family. I sank onto the couch. The air felt too thin. He wasn't cheating. He wasn't living a double life. He was sick, very sick, and he didn't want me to know. I grabbed my phone instantly. 3 calls, straight to voicemail. A 4th, straight to voicemail. My voice cracked on the 5th. "Mark, please pick up, please." Nothing. I booked the next flight to Chicago with hands trembling so hard I could barely tap the screen. If he wasn't going to tell me the truth, I would drag it out of him. The Chicago Medical Center smelled like bleach and fear. I walked into the oncology wing with my heart pounding so hard it hurt. Room 214. I pushed the door open fast, for a second expecting to see that woman and that little girl. Instead, I saw Mark sitting on the hospital bed, for in his arm, skin pale, eyes sunken, and he looked up at me like someone had slapped him awake. What are you doing here?" he whispered. His voice wasn't angry, it was terrified. I stepped closer. "You forgot your laptop." My tone was flat, cold. "But I guess you didn't forget your cancer." He shut his eyes. Pain spread across his face, not physical pain, emotional. "Who told you?" he whispered. I threw the envelope onto the bed. "You did." He swallowed hard. "Baby, I didn't want you to see this." "Why?" My voice cracked. "Why hide something like this? Why lie to me?" He looked so small in that bed, so breakable. "I didn't want you to be scared," he said. "I didn't want you to watch me fall apart." My throat burned. "So you let me think you were cheating on me. That little girl called you daddy. Do you have any idea what that did to me?" Mark covered his face with his hands. "She's not my daughter." His voice cracked. "She's the daughter of my oncology nurse. She lost her daddy last year. She gets attached to patients." I couldn't tell her no. I stared at him, breathing hard. "And the woman, she's my doctor." He pointed weakly to a badge clipped to her jacket, hanging on a chair. "She's been handling my case. I asked her not to call, not to text, not to leave a paper trail. I didn't want you involved. Not until I knew if I had a chance." "Why?" I whispered. His eyes met mine. And the truth in them knocked. the air out of my chest. Because I didn't want the last months of my life to become the last months of yours. I covered my mouth, a sob ripping out of me so fast it felt like it tore something on the way out. He reached for me with his shaking hand. Come here, he whispered. Please. I collapsed into his arms, holding on to him like he might disappear if I loosened my grip for even 1 second. You don't get to make decisions for both of us, I cried. You don't get to fight alone. You're my husband, you idiot. You're my idiot. He laughed, a weak, painful sound. I was trying to protect you. You broke me instead. He rested his forehead against mine. I'm sorry. His voice cracked again. I'm so sorry. Treatment started the next morning. He was scared. I was terrified. But I stayed. Every hour, every drip, every scream, every silence. Weeks passed, and one afternoon, the doctor walked in with a small smile. It's working, she said. Slow, but it's working. I exhaled so hard I almost fell. Mark grabbed my hand. I'm not out of the woods, he whispered, but I'm not dying today. Bittersweet, heavy, real. We walked out of that hospital months later, him thinner, slower, softer, but alive. And sometimes now, when I remember the moment I thought he had another family, I feel a sting of guilt. But then I think of all the secrets people hide, not because they want to betray us, but because they want to protect us, sometimes too much. Sometimes the wrong way, but still, out of love. And if you're listening to this right now, ask yourself, how many people in your life are fighting battles you know nothing about because they think keeping you in the dark is the only way to keep you safe? Maybe today, check on someone. Really check. You never know what quiet war someone might be losing all alone. What love looks like after the storm. R. Quieter, moving carefully, like every step needed permission. For weeks, our house felt different, like silence had gained weight and was sitting in every corner. He slept more, ate less, sometimes smiled, but with only half his face. One night, 3 weeks after discharge, I found him standing in the hallway in the dark, just standing there, staring at the framed photos on the wall. Our wedding picture, our first house, the vacation where his nose got sunburned so badly he peeled for a week. He didn't hear me walk up behind him. Couldn't sleep, I whispered. He shook his head. No, he swallowed thickly. I'm scared to close my eyes. That sentence went straight through me. I stepped closer, lightly touched his arm. Why? He took a slow breath. Because every time I fall asleep, I dream I wake up in that hospital again. His voice cracked, hooked up, alone, dying. I softened instantly. You're not in that hospital, I whispered. You're home. You're safe. He nodded, but his eyes didn't match. His eyes still lived in the oncology wing, the survivor's guilt twist. A few nights later, we went to his follow-up appointment. His doctor smiled, looked proud. Your numbers are still improving, she said. Slow, steady progress. I squeezed his hand, relieved, but Mark didn't smile back. He just stared at the floor. The doctor paused. Is something wrong? Mark didn't answer. I did. He's scared. He closed his eyes. One tear slipped out. It doesn't feel fair, he whispered. Some of the people in my treatment group, they didn't make it. His voice shook. I did, and I don't know why. The room went silent. The doctor placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. That's normal, she said softly. Survivor's guilt can be heavier than the illness itself. I held his hand tighter. We'll get through this, I told him. He didn't answer, but he held on. A week later, I found him sitting outside on the porch at 2 a.m. shivering, barefoot, lost. I grabbed a blanket and wrapped it around him. Mark, talk to me. He stared into the dark yard. I thought I was doing the right thing, he said. Hiding it, keeping you out of it. You weren't, I said quietly. He nodded slowly. I know that now, but back then, I thought love meant protecting you from pain. I shook my head. No, love means walking through pain together, even when it's ugly. He finally turned to look at me. Eyes red, voice barely a whisper. Are you angry? I took a slow breath. Yes, I said honestly, but not because you got sick. I swallowed. I'm angry because you decided I couldn't handle the truth. You chose for both of us. His face collapsed. He exhaled shakily. I was afraid you'd look at me differently. I did, I whispered, but not because you were sick, because you didn't trust me enough to let me carry the weight with you. Mark looked away again, jaw trembling. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm trying. I really am. I pulled him into me, held him tight. And for the first time since the diagnosis, he cried in my arms. Not quietly, not controlled, he cried like a man finally letting go of months of fear and shame and loneliness. I held him until the shaking stopped. A few days later, while cleaning his nightstand, I found a handwritten envelope. My name, his handwriting, not sealed, not given, just waiting. I opened it slowly. Inside, if this letter reaches you, I wasn't brave enough to tell you myself. My chest tightened. You deserved honesty. You deserved a husband who wasn't a coward. I didn't hide my illness to shut you out. I hid it because I couldn't bear the thought of watching you watch me die. My eyes blurred. If I don't make it, I want you to know one thing. You were my greatest peace, my safest home, my only miracle. My hands shook so hard I almost dropped the paper. At the bottom. If I live, I promise I will never lie to you again, not even to protect you, not even to spare you. You deserve truth more than comfort. I pressed the letter to my chest and cried, not because it hurt, but because it healed something, something old, something broken, something that needed his truth to stitch itself closed. Months passed. His hair grew back, his cheeks returned, his laugh, the real one, slowly came home. One evening, we walked hand in hand along the lakeside. He squeezed my fingers. You stayed, he said softly. Always, I whispered. He looked out at the water. I'm not the same person I was. Good, I said. Neither am I. He laughed gently. You still scared I'm hiding another family? I rolled my eyes. Only on Thursdays. He smiled, a real smile this time, and kissed my forehead. And as the sun dipped into the water, painting the sky orange and gold, I realized something. We don't go back to who we were before the storm. We become something else, something stronger, something scardious, but softer too. And sometimes, love doesn't survive because it avoids the storm. Love survives because it walks straight through it and comes out on the other side, still holding hands. So if you're listening tonight, here's what I want you to remember. The people you love aren't perfect. They're human. They get scared. They hide things. They make mistakes. But if they're willing to face the truth, if they're willing to heal with you, if they're willing to grow with you, don't throw them away. Sometimes a broken love is still worth saving. Sometimes the cracks are where the light enters.